Hey, everybody, welcome back to episode 4 of the Infield Report. I'm Isaac alongside my older brother Tyler.
Hello.
We're here just a couple days after Vegas. We had some issues last week, so unfortunately, there is no recap, in depth analysis of the track and all that good stuff about Phoenix. But we're going to do a quick little overview with what happened last week at Phoenix, get you caught up a little bit, and then we're going to dive into the analysis of Las Vegas, and then look ahead to this upcoming week at Homestead. But we're going to go and backtrack just a couple weeks now, and we're going to go back to the Xfinity Series race that happened last Saturday. Joe Gibbs Racing continued their dominance of the NASCAR season so far, at least in the upper two series. Eric Almirola won another race, even though he's not full-time in that 19 car, but he ended up taking the win over the hometown boy, Alex Bowman. It was a quote-unquote controversial finish, if you will, in some people's eyes, but I don't personally see that way, but we'll get into that in just a minute. But Bowman, for his part, he did end up leading quite a lot of laps. He got one stage one, which was good for him. Unfortunately, there at the end, didn't quite pan out for him. What were your thoughts on the ending of the race, and did you think it was controversial at all the way that the finish happened?
I don't think so. It was very aggressive, but Bowman gave him a whole bunch of room on the bottom, and I would have done the same thing Eric Amarola did. He's leaving 3 and 4 wide open. Oh, mind if I do?
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was intentional or not. I don't remember if Bowman said it was because he felt his car would run better a lane higher or half a lane higher, but he did give Almirola room on the bottom there. Almirola took it. He did gun it. He ended up sliding up the track, and Almirola ended up getting the win. And again, it's one of those things where, I've heard it quoted many a time, rubbing is racing. You go back and look at all the close finishes in NASCAR history, there's a lot of contact that happens. Most famously, in my eyes anyway, one of the first races I remember seeing highlights of was Darlington back in 2003 between Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. Those guys were making so much contact. If you go back and look at Kevin Harvick and some of his finishes at Talladega, the close finishes, same with Ryan Blaney, those close contact, the close contests, close finishes, they're going to have contact between the drivers. It's just the way that it is. Kenny Wallace pointed out on social media in his Coffee with Kenny, love that show, by the way, even though it's, just a thing on X, it's great. I would recommend you watch it. He made a comment. He said, now I don't think he said it in the Coffee with Kenny, but he did make comments about go back and look at a lot of Dale Sr.'s wins, or some of the close second places he had. A lot of contact was had there. It's the way that it is. Racing is racing, and in my eyes, I thought it was great entertainment. It was great sport. You have to balance, the entertainment and sport aspects equally, but I think it did a great job of being both. So I think it was great money this weekend spent for a lot of those fans. We don't dive too much into ARCA, but the ARCA finish was also really close. Another Joe Gibbs driver won it, so that definitely helped them out. Unfortunately, on the losing end of the stick this weekend was, again, Justin Allgaier, Phoenix, springtime. They just don't mesh very well. It's always poorly timed cautions, or in the case of last year when I was actually there, saw him cut a tire and, with I think it was 5 to go last year. It was about 5 to go this year. It's unfortunately timed cautions for him that end up costing him the race. It's unfortunately the luck of racing. You can't win them all. I was thinking with how dominant his car was that day, I thought he was going to take home the win, but unfortunately, the way the caution fell and the way, the tires cycled out and everything, he didn't get the the finish he wanted. It was still a top 5 finish, which is great, and he got a stage win. Plus, he got the Xfinity fastest lap bonus point. So, nothing to hang their heads on. I know they wanted the win for sure. Just like they got the win in the fall. The fall and the spring, unfortunately, are 2 different races, but I think it was great momentum for that 7 team to build on looking forward to Phoenix in the fall, whether they're in the championship 4 or not. I still think the way that car ran, I think they're going to be one to watch as well coming up in the fall. But that is, months and months ahead. But again, usually that's a good tester for where you're at. Plus, it's an intermediate track, so we've got a couple more of those intermediates coming up fairly soon. So that'll also be kind of a tester as well for how well that team runs in the future on these intermediate tracks. We do have to talk about some other drivers that didn't have the best of days. We unfortunately do have to mention Catherine Legg. She did have a great day. As far as an overall perspective, if you want to look at it for her first overall Cup race, I think she did amazing. I know they didn't have the car set up right initially at the start of the race, so they brought her in, made some adjustments. She said it still wasn't great, and the team owned up to it. They said they didn't quite make the adjustments that they needed to, so unfortunately they didn't help her in any way, but they ended up getting some things figured out. She was running pretty well, and then unfortunately at about lap 200, she's driving underneath a driver. I can't remember exactly who it was. She gets arrow loose. Car comes around on her. She ends up making contact with the outside wall on the backstretch. Daniel Suarez comes along. He's running 6th. He's got a top 10 car. I thought he was going to do really well. Chance to, have a great finish at the end of the race. He's coming along, and Catherine Legg spins, hits the wall. He's got nowhere to go. Front end hits her. Doesn't necessarily end his day. He finishes 23rd, but going from a top 10 car to outside the top 20 is very demoralizing. I know they've had that 99 car has had a great start to the year. I know they've had great momentum. Unfortunately, things just haven't panned out for them. They had a great run at COTA the week before. Unfortunately, self-inflicted error takes him out of the race. But this week, again, no fault of his own. It just, unfortunately, the way it folds out. I did see something about Catherine Legg posting, or there was an article that came out and it said that she immediately went up to Suarez after the race and apologized, and it was not her intent and things like that. And there's been a lot of discourse over the last 2 weeks as far as the process for these drivers getting approved and the amount, the limited practice, the no practice, the no testing whatsoever sort of deal. And it does make you wonder if NASCAR is going to change their standards, their procedures for letting these drivers from other series coming and racing, because they did change that open exemption provisional thing to start the year off, which is all well and good. But if you don't give the drivers the practice, the testing that they need, like I know it was when Trackhouse first launched their Project 91 stuff, you had Kimi Räikkönen doing the max amount of testing that he could do at VIR, Virginia Raceway, to try to get all the experience in that he could, because sim work is just sim work. As well as anybody, well, not as well as anybody, but driving sim or iRacing or whatever the case is not the same as driving a real physical car, a real physical race car. So it's giving these drivers the opportunity to properly test, properly run in a car. I mean, I know they don't have practice anymore, or they have limited practice, but you have to give these guys and gals and all these drivers from different sports or different disciplines of racing, you have to give them, in my opinion, allow them up to X amount of hours of testing prior to their first entry, or, mandate that there has to be, I'll say 20 hours of on-track testing that you have to go through. Like I know with IndyCar, when Kyle Larson ran it last year, attempting the double, he had to go through X amount of courses, driver courses. He was starting in October of the prior year, getting some of that testing and stuff done. So I know NASCAR is not as strict and they're not as, I'll call them uptight as IndyCar is, but the fact that IndyCar has things like that in place to where you don't just have somebody coming in that somehow gets a ride. Now, granted, Catherine Legg earned her way in. I'm not going to say she bought herself a ride or anything like that, but it prevents individuals that don't know how to drive coming in and just driving a car and then wrecking it. Because like Helio Castroneves at Daytona, when he wrecked, both in the duels and in the 500, there were opportunities for him that Kevin Harvick saw, and listening to his opinions, where he said, if you had testing, if you had experience in a real car, you would at least know how to save the car in that situation. Whereas, unfortunately, Helio, when that car came around, he basically wrecked it twice. Catherine Legg, the article came out, and I read, she said if she had had testing, or if she had had any sort of, practice whatsoever, and that happened, she would know how to handle it. And she's enough of a veteran driver, she said she wouldn't have made that mistake again. And in my opinion, you have to give these drivers the opportunity to test or do something in real life, not just sim work, in order to drive these cars. And I get it scheduling wise. I don't know if her schedule lines up for any other race, but I think Phoenix was a little bit too soon unless she started testing last year. I don't know. What are your opinions? I know I went on a bit of a ramble there and a bit of a rant, but what are your opinions on that whole Catherine Legg unfortunate lack of testing whole debacle thing?
I agree with both you and Catherine, about she is a veteran driver. She wouldn't have made that mistake if she had actual in real life driving, knowing how the weight shifts and what to feel in, not to swear, but you have to feel it in your ass. You have to feel it in your hands. And the simulators can only vibrate and rock so much to simulate that. And some teams don't even have that capability. So
exactly.
So like you said, there has to be either you want to compete for these races, okay, maybe start this year so we can approve you for next year, or hey, come practice this car, and then the actual driver will go out and do qualifying and do the race. Because Formula One sometimes does that, where they're like young drivers or drivers in waiting they allot so much time for those drivers to come in and do some practice testing. That way, when they have their debut, they know how to run the car.
Exactly.
I don't know if NASCAR should implement something like that, but it's there. It's there. I get it. They're trying to cost save. They're trying to save the team's money. Trying to not have a super long weekend either. But at the same time, a lot of these drivers are kind of wanting practice. They do want, to come off the car, tweak some things, and make sure the car is great for the track.
Yeah, and I can understand it's a double-edged sword with practice, because yes, not having practice, I think those teams that come prepared and have done the sim work, have done all this sort of stuff, they are more successful. I'll say successful with quotation marks, but They'll go out, they'll run, they'll go, okay, car feels good. We can make minimal adjustments, in the 20-minute practice session we have. We go out, qualify, boom, done. But the 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 argument from drivers I've heard is if you have too much practice, quote unquote, too much practice, or more practice than what they have, all that's going to do is tighten the field up, and then it's just going to make it non-competitive in some people's minds. Now, again, that's that view of things. But then again, you have practice. I don't mind even if they do have, say they've got a 120-minute practice session, right? But that's like for everybody. But I wouldn't mind. Now, again, this is just a logistical thing. A logistical problem is if they did have another 20-minute practice session for just said rookie driver. But then again, that's kind of you would think that that's kind of special treatment. But, it is what it is. But like some of these teams like Live Fast Motorsports, that it's BJ McLeod and his wife running that team, they don't necessarily have the funds to take a car to Virginia Raceway or to, like a Phoenix or an Atlanta or something like that to test these cars either. So, I mean, it is kind of hard because I believe for those testing sessions like that Kimi Räikkönen did, I keep going back to him, but like he's the big one that I know. They did a bunch of testing. Like he ran basically as much testing as he could before he got into the car and ran at Watkins Glen. But I think there's got to be some sort of hard limit. And again, like for like hours or for laps or something, because Catherine made a comment where, like you said, like it's hard to, like, she understands the ladder of things. You race in the Truck Series, you run in the Xfinity Series, and then you run in the Cup Series. But she said the problem is the next gen Cup car doesn't run like a truck or like an Xfinity car. So none of that really has any real translation to the Cup car. So it's very hard to justify, drivers that haven't raced in those. That's fine. I respect that. But and they don't usually, because I think Catherine Legg has run a few truck and Xfinity races in her time, which is great. But in her defense, they don't drive anything like a next gen Cup car. So I think if you're doing that, because this Cup car is so different, they need to have some sort of rule, some sort of requirements in order to run this car. Now, if she had done some practice or done some testing over the course of, I'll say, even the next 3 months, and just done like sporadic here and there testing, and then gotten in the car, done a thing of practice, and then qualified and then run, that's okay. But she even said it herself, and Kevin Harvick said it as well. She feel like she was kind of set up to fail. She said, well, she didn't necessarily say that, but she was not set up for success. And Harvick said that she was kind of fed to the wolves on this one. And I agree with him on that. There's got to be a better way to do this for these drivers coming in from different series. But unfortunately, that was a very long tangent on Catherine Legg. If she does get another opportunity in the Cup Series, I want it to be at a similar style track, or at a track where I know that she knows how to run, where, like at a road course, I feel like she would do okay. I just want to see her a fair shot at this, not just we'll throw you in for one weekend and hopefully you succeed. I want to see her do well. All right. After that wonderful rant about the Catherine Legg situation, which was very unfortunate, we're going to go ahead and just shift our focus forward to what happened this weekend at Las Vegas, and we're going to hop over to iRacing right now, and Tyler's going to give us a look at what the drivers will have seen Now he's going to be doing this in a cup car, so it is going to look a little bit different. So there's going to be, obviously it's a cup car, so it's going to be different than the Xfinity and the Truck Series. But again, no fancy tire pressure adjustments, no track bar wedge, none of that crazy stuff. If we knew anything about that, we would probably be working for one of the teams or working for a race team somewhere. We do not. So we're just going to say this is as basic as it gets. This is just purely to show you guys lap times roughly, some racing lines, how the track looks, things of that nature. So nothing crazy. Don't take our lap times and anything for gospel. This is just for fun. But again, this is just to kind of give you an overview of the track. This is the most updated scan for iRacing. This one just came out this past week. So textures are the track texture is pretty much as good as it's going to get right now. It is aged, so this I think has not been repaved in almost 20 years. So the amount of wear is going to be a little bit more than the old scan. But other than that, this is pretty much accurate, as accurate as you can get it right now. But this this track, Las Vegas, great racing for this style of cup car. Um, Again, the next gen car races great at these intermediate tracks, whether they're a mile, mile and a half, mile and a third, like Darlington. Um, like I said, you got Darlington, Kansas, Homestead, Vegas. Those are some of the best races I think that this car races at. I think these are it's just the style, the way that the car is. But again, that's just the way that it is. You know, the road courses are starting to come up as well, but as of now, the intermediate style tracks, in the Cup car at least, have produced great racing. But we're going to hop backwards to the very first race of the weekend. We had all three series at Vegas this weekend. We had the Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup cars. And for the truck race, we had a pretty good repeat winner in Corey Heim. Now, this was the first race where he crossed the finish line knowing he was the winner. If you watched our first episode or if you've been paying attention at all throughout the season, you will have known about the Parker Kligerman situation. If not, feel free to go back and take a look at our first episode. We did a little bit of a deeper dive into that. But again, Corey Heim getting the race win. Ty Majeski did pick up the stage win for stage one. He also got the Xfinity fastest lap, which gives him a bonus point. So if you want to add that to your tracker, you can. Tyler Ankrum won stage two. Again, both of those drivers, great drivers. I know the Thor Sport guys in Ty Majeski and Ben Rhodes, and you know those guys are always fun to watch. They're perennial contenders for the championships. You've got they're always contending for wins, no matter what type of track they go to. Um, you know, great finishes for them. Tyler Ankrum as well. Got a top 10 finish as well for him. I know after a tough Daytona, tough start to the year, I know he's gotten a great rebound for the last two races. Hopefully they can keep that momentum going, keep that going forward in the upcoming races as well. But Heim time, two races out of the first three, keeping those Toyotas strong throughout all three series, really. Toyota's been doing pretty good so far this year. But Corey Heim and that all the talent that he's got, I think he's going to be one coming up through the series, each series coming up through there and just tearing it up. I think he's a 2311 development driver, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he's up in the next series sooner rather than later. But they may not want to rush him too much and just make sure he develops properly. But you'll see here, he ran what a 20, or I'm sorry, a 30-23, 30-24. That was pretty much. I mean, good lap time so far. Um, this is just one of those tracks where it's pretty high banking. How do you feel about driving it? You know, even though it is just a sim.
It's a lift and go track. Not a lot of braking. You think it would be kind of boring, but not really. Because the more the tires fall off, the more it's going to get a little slippery, slick. You'll have to run the top a little bit more, or if you start on the top, you can maybe save your tires to come down a little low.
Yeah. I mean,
It
it definitely
it
looks.
has. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, it looks like a lot of fun to run. I mean, like you said, it does look like already you're only a handful of laps in, and it looks like you're already slipping and sliding a little bit. But I mean, other than that, like this is like right there coming out of two. If you know, that's a tough bit. And then I know one of the parts we saw, or one of the parts of the track we saw bite a lot of people this weekend throughout all three series was coming out of four here. This wall kind of comes up at you out of nowhere sometimes.
It's really easy to get loose out of four. Coming into one and two, it can be a little, it can feel a little tight as I'm full throttle and coming towards the wall, but it's manageable because it's a straight wall. This one is more of a, it curls back into you, so you have to keep turning, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning.
Yep,
As
and
I
that
was
will
turning right,
that will come out and bite your right rear if you're not careful. I know we saw that, like I said, a couple times in all three series throughout the weekend where you slide up just a little bit too much, and that will come back to bite you. But yeah, it's a really interesting track. Like you said, it looks like now again when I ran it on NASCAR '09, it wasn't this worn out or anything like that, and the car was obviously much different. It was the car tomorrow, so that's my gauge of reference. But um, it definitely you could only run that car at the bottom, but I noticed throughout the series and stuff where you saw as the run moves on, they shift up the track, you shift up a lane, shift up two lanes, and things like that. I don't know. Is it much more like? Is it more manageable when you're at least running on iRacing here? Is it when you don't have the grip? Is it easier to? What is the reason why it's easier to run?
you're not on the throttle a lot on the top, so you're not trying to spin the tires. For example, I can show you here. I'm kind of half throttle, half throttle. I'm off the throttle quite a bit. You can control a little bit more. If you're on the bottom, my tires are pretty much shot. But if I come down here, there's more bumps on the bottom too. But I'm full throttle, and I'm sliding my tires towards the right side, towards the wall. But if I'm here, I'm almost riding on rails in a way. Not on the throttle a lot. Can save a little bit of fuel, but you're not chewing up the tires as much up there.
Yeah,
But it can be difficult at times because it's kind of smooth up here, as you can tell by the bumps.
hmm,
If you get down towards the bottom, that is the most run line,
oh yeah,
and the bumps can, if you don't have grip in the tires, they can spin you out. I've been doing, let's see, I probably started at laps 68, 69,
somewhere in there, I
and
think.
I'm at 83, so I'm at 20 laps,
Yeah,
or
it's
almost. I'm at a little less than 20 laps. They're starting to wear a little bit.
oh yeah. We did have some great racing in the Xfinity
Here we
series.
go. Here we go. Here we go.
There it is going around just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see. That was kind of user error. We'll see what happens. But anyway, back to the Xfinity series.
Yeah, that was still a good lap time. But the Xfinity series, we had our man Justin Allgaier wanted to get a race win last week at Phoenix. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done. But like we said earlier, building on the momentum and actually picked up a stage win, stage one win, and picked up the race win. So again, intermediate style tracks for Justin Allgaier. He's always been really good at. I know And we've got another one coming up at Homestead. So keep an eye on him as well. But again, good to see him get a win. I know he's been wanting a win, especially after last week at Phoenix, what we saw. But again, not necessarily like a bad thing that he lost at Phoenix, that he didn't win, but he ended up getting a race win plus some bonus points for the stage win. So great thing for them moving forward. And then Eric Almirola picking up a stage win in there as well. Again, not in a full time car. He's in that All Star car in the 19. So he's running as well as he can. I love to see him coming back, and even though he's retired from full time racing, seeing him do really well in the Xfinity series and giving that 19 car a really good run for its money. Um, and then again, we had Connor Zilic, the kid, getting the Xfinity series or the Xfinity fastest lap, excuse me. He picked up a bonus point and finished top 10 in the race. So, um, proving that user error on the top, it looked like maybe, or was that tire?
No, the tires are gone. I tried to move up the track. It was working a little bit, but I chewed up my tires on the bottom. So
Yep,
we'll actually keep track here. We're going to call it lap 88 is new tires.
yep. We'll keep that in mind as he comes down pit road here and gets some new tires on. But yeah, so Zilic proving, he's I won't proclaim it just yet, but he's the real deal. He's showing why he's gotten all the hype he's gotten. Um, again, top 10 finish for him. I know stage one, fourth, stage two, third, and then again, finishing ninth in the race. Doing a great job. Another driver that's been sort of overlooked, but I feel like the broadcast is pointing him out a lot more now is Harrison Burton. He's going back down a series, but I don't want to say going back down, but he's taken to the Xfinity series, and his worst finish was at Coda in 35th, but like Daytona he finished sixth, Atlanta finished 10th, at Phoenix he finished 20th, and then he finished eighth at Las Vegas. So for him, I think that's good positive momentum for him. I think it was just unfortunately he may have moved up to the Cup Series too soon, but I think if he's able to mature and actually um, hone his craft a little bit better in the Xfinity Series, I would love to see him get another shot in the Cup Series. I just think maybe he was promoted too soon, but we'll have to see. I want to keep my eye on him throughout the rest of the season and see if this level of success continues for him. Um, again, great kid. I want to see him do well, not just because of his name, but he's again another guy that I feel like is a one of those easygoing guys to watch, and I want to see him succeed. But again, he's doing really well for himself. I think he's got a really solid chance to make some noise in the Xfinity Series this year, and not just steal a win, but actually earn a win. Unlike what some people claim he did in the Cup Series and stole a win last year to back his way into the playoffs. But I think he's got a legitimate chance to make some noise in the Xfinity Series and possibly make his way forward into the playoffs as well. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But it looks like you're how many laps in now on these tires? You started at lap 88, 89, 91, so
Yeah,
a handful of laps in. What do you
thereabouts.
find, at least for this track, do you find it like an ideal number of laps before you feel like the tires have started to wear in properly, or is it just kind of a go with the feel of it?
I think it's go with the feel of it. I don't know how recent this tire model is. It seems like it goes at lap 20, and what lap were they getting to where the tires were pretty much gone?
I want to say probably 40 or 45 laps. I think I could be 100% wrong on that, but feel like
I
they were about 40 or 45 maybe.
I'm trying for qualifying times too, so I'm pushing the absolute hell out of these tires.
Oh yeah, but I mean it does show you though the amount of wear and tear on this track regardless, because like I said, it hasn't been repaved since I believe it was 2006. I think was the last repave on this track, so it's been quite a long time out in the desert to you know get rough. And I know with as high of speeds as they are and with as much downforce as you're running, you're running 180, 185, 190 miles an hour almost going into the corners. That puts a lot of stress on those tires, and you're going to wear those out really quickly. All right. So my apologies on the awkward cut. There were some network and connection issues with Tyler. It was on one of our ends. We're not entirely sure, but I'll be doing the recap of the Cup Series solo for now. Unfortunately, that does mean Tyler will not be a part of this portion, but that's okay. We'll make sure we include him for next week's episode. He's kind of important to this whole thing. But we did have a very surprise winner in the Cup Series on Sunday. Josh Berry and the Wood Brothers picked up a win. Josh Berry with his first career win, and the Wood Brothers' 101st win for their organization. Great thing for them. I know that Josh Berry, it's been a long time coming for him with his tenure at SHR not being the best. Just wasn't a match made for him. But coming over to Wood Brothers and being able to be in a car that's got great equipment. They are a pseudo Penske team, so acting as a fourth Penske car, but also having a really strong team themselves, I think definitely does help. I know he's run really, really well all season. Granted, the results don't show it, but the fact that he's put his car where he has all season long so far, granted, again, it's only been 5 races, but the fact that he's been able to run consistently towards the front of the pack, watching him drive his butt off at Bowman Gray to make the show, make the main event, and then still running respectably well in the main event itself, I think shows exactly what this guy's all about. I know he's definitely running with a vengeance. Not necessarily with a vengeance, but maybe with something to prove. But to me, like, this goes to show that he is a type of guy that you put him in a car, he's got the determination to win. He will put his car in a place to win. And again, him being over at Stewart-Haas last year wasn't necessarily the best fit for him, but now being with the Wood Brothers, this may not, mark my words here, this may not be his only win of 2025. I think he might have another win in him, but even if he doesn't, I'll say that this move over to Wood Brothers is definitely a success for him. I want to see him continue to do well and just keep moving up. Like, he's locked himself into a playoff spot, and I'll use those with quotations because we could have more than 16 winners. It's very possible. But again, like, kudos to Josh. I mean, he's done a great job. Run his races very well. He's always been a fun guy to watch, and I'm going to keep rooting for him. His pseudo teammate, but his manufacturer teammate Austin Cindric got the stage 1 win. He's a guy that I feel like is another one to watch. He's got a chance to put together enough to where I think he can get another win this year as well. He's a guy that, again, he's this close, I think, to figuring something out and getting putting something together for another win. So keep an eye on him as well. He's a guy, not just a super speedway guy, but keep an eye on him for any race. He's got potential at a lot of races. But Kyle Larson won stage 2. He was a favorite since the next gen car has come out. Kyle Larson's been one of the betting favorites at these intermediate style tracks. He's always run really, really well there for most of them. He won stage 2. Unfortunately, didn't get the finish I think he wanted. He finished ninth to end the day, but still great momentum. He got himself a stage win. Great work for him. Hendrick moving forward, they're looking positive. I know so far this season he's gotten overshadowed by William Byron, which I don't know if a lot of people saw that coming, but William Byron finished fourth. Again, Larson finished ninth, so good on them. Suarez had a great rebound from last week, his unfortunate exit at Phoenix, but he was able to keep things together and kept his car pretty much clean. Came away with a second place finish. Good for him as well. Good to see him, again, just a rebound. I know he's had a tough up and down season, but good to see him getting a top 2 finish for him. And then Tyler Reddick had the Xfinity fastest lap. He got the bonus point there. Keep your trackers on for that one. He, again, didn't have the finish he wanted. Finished 24th, but he had a really fast car, really solid car all day. I know since that flip at Vegas in the fall, not been the greatest of luck for him, but we're coming up to Homestead next week where he's won a championship there in the Xfinity Series, and he had an amazing pass for a win last year in the fall. So we may see some more Reddick magic this weekend at Homestead, but who knows? Who knows what this weekend will bring? But unfortunately, with this being just me and no Tyler, but on his behalf, I will say thank you guys for watching, listening, subscribing, commenting, liking, all the good stuff. Again, if you like this, please share it with a friend. It would help us out so much. Comment down below if you think we'll see a new winner, whether Reddick's going to get himself a win this week, or if we've got one of our regulars coming back, if we got Larson coming up with a win, or who you'd like to see win this weekend. But other than that, again, thank you guys for watching, listening, following along, and we'll see you guys next week.